Well, hello. Welcome to our Infinx online office hours. My name is Viveka Jagadeesan. I am a business development representative here at Infinx. And this week, we're so happy to have two people from one of our client locations, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, be joining us today. Today, we have Beth, the Pre-Cert Team Leader, and Monique, who is Executive Vice President of Revenue Cycle Management and Financial Analytics, joining us today. Beth and Monique, how are you?
Oh, wow.
Well, we were so happy that you agreed to join us today. We have, I think, many people come to us with prior authorization challenges, probably similar to the ones that you faced. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about what kind of challenges you were seeing with your prior authorization workflow that made you want to start looking for a solution?
Sure, I'll take that. So we have 15 prior authorization specialists that work for our team. And before Infinix, we struggled tremendously. We review over 15,000 appointments a month, and we were never able to get to the 2-week time frame for submissions as we wanted them to be. So we had a lot of turnover, a lot of staff leaving, transferring, because it was a lot. It was definitely a lot that we had to take in. We had also, when new people were hired, we had to train, so then that definitely pushed us behind, never able to get to the 2-week time frame. So with the Infinix platform, it was definitely something that we look forward to be able to help us to be able to reach those goals.
Mm-hmm. And to add a little bit to what Beth said as well, CIS as a company has been experiencing a great deal of growth over the last few years. In fact, the authorizations that we do have grown about 40% for our diagnostics and procedures during that time period. And in July of 2021, we started doing authorizations for one of the companies that we're helping to manage now, Midwest Cardiovascular Institute in Chicago. And so they had 24 physicians, and CIS has over 60. So we have a ton of diagnostics and procedures that the team is looking at. And in addition to the growth, we have manual processes. So Beth's team is working in NextGen currently, or they had primarily been working in NextGen off of a live schedule. And that live schedule, although it would populate as folks would schedule patients, we didn't really have much tracking. So it was really, no analytics and things that sat behind what we were doing. So besides the growth in manual processes, Beth already mentioned the turnover. In fact, in 2021 to 2022, it had gotten really bad in the department to the point where we had 67% of our staff turn over at that time because of the workload and because of the number of hours that they were having to put in to try to get the job done, So, and the final straw for us really was Hurricane Ida. So Hurricane Ida hit on August 29th, 2021. And we just so happened to take a direct hit in Houma, Louisiana, because we're in South Louisiana. And our centralized pre-cert team, all of them were located in South Louisiana. So some evacuated with their equipment, their computers where they could maybe remote in and help us out. Some evacuated without equipment because it happened relatively quickly that we knew we needed to leave. And some folks even stayed. And so people were displaced. We couldn't communicate or reach a lot of people. And I had evacuated, but it put us in a really rough situation because we have over 20 clinics, including Midwest Cardiovascular Institute in Illinois, and we needed to continue doing prior authorizations for all of those other clinics that hadn't been impacted. So I literally was picking up the phone and calling all of our authorization specialists and asking them, do you have a computer? Can you jump in? Can you help us start pre-certing? And that was very difficult because these folks had just been impacted by a Category 4 hurricane, and they didn't even know if they had a home to go home to. Just to shed a little light, we still have folks 2 years out that are still trying to get their house completely rebuilt. Roofs were torn off and things had to be completely redone for the people here. So that really was the driving force behind us ending up starting to look for a partner that could help us with prior authorizations going forward so that we would have the resources to be able to get the work done.
Wow. Can I just say, wow, that just sounds like such a difficult situation for your whole team to be in, and just personally and professionally in all the ways I can imagine. And wow. Yeah, I think probably everyone in attendance here can relate to that. Just that sense of their staff being overburdened, having staffing challenges, and a great deal of turnover. And it sounds like you guys are faced with all of that, and plus that, gigantic impact of the hurricane. Really, I think, highlighting the difficulty of holding it all together in one place there. Wow. So how did you hear about Infinx?
So we heard about Infinx from a couple of different sources. One was actually our health information systems team here at CIS. They were looking for a CDSM to partner with, and in doing so, they had landed on Infinx and really were impressed with Infinx. So they recommended that we look at the prior authorization platform. So that was one. And then another was our CFO actually knew a couple of practices that were successfully using Infinx for RCM. We met with Christine Coronado. We looked into the RCM side of things. And so we just felt like Infinx would be a really good partner.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming you guys were kind of comparing and looking at a few different solutions. Was there anything in particular that made you really decide to go forward with us?
Yeah, a few different things. One is you guys could integrate with our EHR. Our EHR has actually been developed by one of our physicians here, Dr. Vinod Nair, and we already knew that you guys had the technical capabilities to do that. And we were very impressed with the platform, with the payer connections and rules, the resources that sat behind it, as well as all of the analytics that you guys provide. There's so much visibility into everything we're doing.
Yeah. And I definitely, day to day, I think whoever we talk to, it's hard to even have basic information about the number of authorizations that are going through the system monthly, for example. It's really, I think, really hard for people to have eyeballs on that. And I hear real hunger from people for greater visibility and analytics to kind of improve that process. So I'm kind of curious. So once you decided to sign on with us, what was that onboarding and implementation process like for you? I know you have a number of different locations, and there was some challenges that you had to overcome in that process.
We did, and all of the staff worked remote. So that was a little bit of a challenge in itself because not everyone is all in-house to go ahead and do the training all at once. So the slides, the PowerPoint presentation that they had with all of the steps to do, I mean, it was excellent. It was step by step, left nothing to question of what we needed to do. So instead of having one complete call with everyone together, I reached out to each person on their own and went through the steps. Only had to explain things once with them, showed them on the computer what they needed to do, and they took off with it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Beth said. We had a whole plan and process with Stephanie. She was very, methodical about helping us ramp up with individual payers and diagnostics and making sure that we understood the whole process and that it was very easy.
That's awesome. And so Stephanie was your customer success manager, and you've kind of been with her since day one, I think. And did you roll it out at all of the locations at one time, or did you kind of do a phased approach? How did you guys manage that?
No, we did all locations.
But it was payers. We started with Blue Cross Echo, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did because it was back to the manual process. So I'm sorry about that. We did Blue Cross Echoes to start out.
Yeah.
That way it wasn't a huge amount that we were doing. And then like within a few weeks, we were adding other payers on there. And then at the beginning of the year, because I think we implemented it in November, and then by January 1, we were full force with submitting everything in there.
So right now we do all of the low tech imaging for all the locations. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Got it. So
it helps us focus on high complexity.
Correct.
And that makes sense. I think a lot of people, they're coming in, they don't necessarily, they already have prior authorization staff, but they want to be able to support that staff and help them not be overloaded with their workload, and to help them focus their time where it's really needed. And it sounds like you guys chose to do the same kind of split.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, was there anything that, what's kind of the overall experience day to day like now using? I mean, so you guys opted to start using the bulk upload process. Is that right? Has that been something that's been helpful as far as getting it added?
Yes, that has definitely helped because at the beginning we were having to do manual one case at a time, getting that on there. And then we struggled to get the entire team on board with that.
Right.
Because, that was a hurdle, kind of one other question that we had, that they didn't want change and they just didn't understand why they felt it was more steps. They felt like if they just went straight to the websites and the portals, they can get their answer real quick. So every day it was I had to reach out to those specific people and say, hey, look, if you just give it a try, you have to give it a try. And then now that we did the bulk upload, they're running with it. Like it's amazing. It's definitely helped us out tremendously.
That's really helpful to hear, because I think people are always thinking about, how is this going to work for my team? Are they going to is this actually going to make their life? Anytime you introduce a new system, a new platform, a new tool, it's honestly, it's a huge headache often, right? And especially with such a huge complex process, you really want to know it's worth it before allocating the time and expense to make that happen. And it sounds like the bulk upload was the thing that really made it click for your team of oh yeah, this is actually going to make our lives easier. Is there any other way that you helped your team kind of get on board with it, get started using it? Is there anything that made that process easier for you guys?
No, so when we first started the manual process, sat with each person, shared my screen with them, showed them what they need to do. Same thing for the bulk upload. I got with each person. That way, if they had any questions, they could ask me directly. And I showed them how to do one, and then I had them do a submission on their own while I was on the screen with them. And that's pretty much it. Once we did that, they were submitting 20 and 30 at a time. And I did get some feedback of some that said that they did think that it was a little bit of a longer process due to having to go into our medical record system, upload the documents in there, pull those over on the CSV file to Infinix. But then once they're doing that it took a week. Once they started doing that, they realized how much easier it actually was, because you don't have to worry about logging in to each portal or website for each different insurance. You can just send everything to Infinix. They take care of it and send it back to you once they get the answer. If they don't have the answer and need a different insurance, they'll send that message back to us, and then we take it over from there and move forward.
Yeah, and I would say that what's different about the way we've approached things at CIS so far is that, our cybersecurity committee, doesn't allow outside vendor access to our systems, which I completely understand the concern, but it set a little bit of another challenge in front of our team in that, you know, Infinix could have helped us get going a lot faster if they would have had direct access to our systems. So currently our EHR company is building a prior authorization dashboard that's going to have all the elements that we need to automatically send to Infinix, like the CPT codes, the ICD, the patient demographics, and the chart information, the clinicals. Everything is going to go at once. So it's going to make it, once they have that developed, it's going to make it 100% better even than what we're doing today.
Correct.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely hear from people that once that integration is set up, it's like so much easier to do the data entry. It sounds like that's something you guys want to pursue once the EHR has the capability online. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. So we had a question about how does the bulk upload work? Monique, do you want to speak to that? Or Beth, do you want to speak to that?
I'll take it. So bulk upload, we review our schedules, we verify which patient needs to go to the Infinix portal. We confirm that the insurance is active, and then we download our clinicals. We then do a CSV file that our people on our end created for us.
Mm-hmm.
So once we do that upload, we download that file, it goes to Infinix platform. And then once it's in Infinix, we go in, it pulls it over to the drafts.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll sit in the drafts until you go in there, add the information that you need. Right now, what we're doing, once it goes into drafts, it pulls everything over for demographics, doctor. It does pull over insurance. However, you do have to verify because it could be the incorrect insurance. It could be the secondary insurance that they're pulling over for primary. So you do have to verify and confirm that it is the correct one that is in there. And then we're adding the CPT code that we're using, and we're adding the ICD-10 that we want to use that we know that should get it approved from what the doctor is asking for. Once we do that, we download the clinicals there. We'll upload the clinicals on there for that file, and then we go ahead and create the case. Once we create the case, it gives us a unique ID number, and then that's kind of our tracking number. And then it'll go into the submitted files to where we're waiting now for Infinix to submit and then give us the information back.
Gotcha. So it sounds like we've customized that to what information needed to be added to the download from your EHR. Gotcha. So yeah, and that's good for me to understand. It's I think that's a good piece of learning for me is that we customize that bulk upload to each client as we do the implementation. Yeah. Got it. So I'm sure the question that everyone would like to know is kind of what has been the results that you've seen from using the solution in your organization.
The results have been amazing because, like I said at the beginning, we ideally want to be 2 weeks out on our schedules, which, you know, some payers take 14 days to give us the authorization. So with all the struggles that we've had in the past, as Monique had mentioned, we were never able to get to the 2 weeks. We were always only 1 week. Sometimes it were 2 days. Now, when we're submitting that, we know that we're not going to get the answer for those things. So we had physicians that were upset because we had to cancel and reschedule. Sometimes we had procedures that we had to cancel and reschedule, and we don't want to do that. We want the patients to have what they need. So the outcome of that is we are almost 2 weeks out. We're able to work the higher complexity cases. We've reduced overtime tremendously. And we're actually able to allow people to be off, use GPT, and not have to be worried about when I come back what kind of workload I'm going to have. Because with being ahead like that, you don't have to worry about it. You're good, and then the team is constantly submitting. I mean, it's all over. I mean, it's been great.
And I think overall for CIS, just a high level for the company as a whole, I think that we've improved our ability to provide timely patient care. And additionally, you know, we've prevented lost revenue to the company because we're able to get the patients those diagnostics authorized timely. Infinix is doing over 2,000 of our authorizations currently, and that's 36% of what we're doing today. And like Beth mentioned, it's across the board. It's reduction in overtime. It's FTEs that we have today, we haven't had to hire any more FTEs. They're doing way more authorizations per FTE, 18% more than they were doing prior to us using Infinx. Same day turnaround time on the majority of these authorizations. When I'm looking at them, it's amazing. It really is.
That's huge. I think that's a big question from people is it faster? Can you reduce the turnaround times that were
It is.
That's huge.
Yeah. And back to another question that we had about us, how we, did the transition with the team and stuff like that. And I said, people don't like change. So we kind of did like little contests to where we did incentives, to where we said the top 3 submitters, try to push them to get into there. Because, they didn't, some of them were like, it's too much work. But then once they realized that it was better, then they were all fighting to get the top 3. So that was kind of good that we pushed them to be able to do that.
That's a great way to do it. I love that creativity. And I feel that. I think getting started is always kind of the hurdle. And then when you know how to use it, then you're much more eager to, I think, do a process that you understand. It sounds like your team technically as well. That's great. I mean, I think just like seeing that, did you say that you had much less turnover once you'd implemented the solution? Did I hear that? Yeah, that's a pretty drastic decrease for you guys.
That is correct.
So that's huge as far as the staffing challenge. So day to day, your staff's lives are probably better, it sounds like. I think people are kind of maybe nervous about implementing a solution because they would worry about their jobs, but it really sounds like in this case, it's been able to make it easier for them to stay and more attractive and like a better job for them, as well as saving you guys, of course, on the overtime and, the cost of hiring people as you've been expanding and adding more centers as well. Yeah.
Right.
That is correct.
That's huge. So Monique, do you want to speak about the analytics a little bit more? I know that people they want to know the visibility. Has that been helpful for you guys to see?
It definitely has. And we can slice and dice all the data by whatever we want to see. I'm kind of a data nerd, so I love going in there and taking a look at things by payer. We can look at it by physician, by location. We can look at it by the status. It's drillable, CPT, everything. We can look over whatever time period that we want in the analytics platform and see what our turnaround time has been during that time, any denials, if any, because there's been very few over time, and what were the reasons. I love to go look in the dashboard at the individual cases, and I love the way, I know that's not particularly in the analytics platform itself, but I love the visibility of being able to look at the cases that are in progress and see where they're at and look at the notes and everything. It's really great.
That's awesome. So we have a couple of great questions here. First one is, how did you convince your leadership to bring on a solution that could reduce the staff's workload? And did you show an ROI analysis?
We definitely did show an ROI analysis. At the time, we actually worked with Infinx on the ROI, and we were able to try to demonstrate what the reduction in turnaround time would be, what it would look like whenever we reduced the lost appointments that would be on the schedule, reducing the denial rates, and everything that we put together really painted the picture that the tool pays for itself.
That's fantastic. And have you found that to be accurate in practice?
I do. I think it's a very valuable tool, and I do think that we'll see even more benefits once we're able to have the prior authorization dashboard integration.
Absolutely. And had another question. Has the analytics helped improve your workloads further, such as clinical document improvements?
What's your thoughts behind that one?
So, I don't know.
Well, said the
Peer-to-peer, yeah, peer-to-peer has definitely decreased on there. So that has definitely helped us out a lot, because sometimes I feel that when they were going to different websites, some of the newer people, they didn't know how to answer the questions on there, so then it would deny and have to go peer-to-peer. So sending over the information to Infinix, they're apparently doing what is right, because we're definitely having way less peer-to-peers that we're having to send.
That's awesome. I know that's a huge pain point for people that I talk to, is they're like, "Ugh, can you help us bring those peer-to-peers down?" Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Nobody likes those.
No, not at all.
I do have one more question here, which is, what's kind of been your experience with our kind of customer service? I know that's a big factor for people in implementing a solution.
Yeah, customer service has been great. We haven't had any problems of not having any quick responses. Normally, if we have a case that it may be one that takes 10 to 14 days to get the answer back, if we see that it's coming up like within 2 days, we'll send them an email, hey, can we please get a status on this? Shafiq and Nayan, like, they'll respond quickly. You know, hey, Ms. Beth, look, we're checking on this, we'll let you know. And then usually within 30 minutes, we have that resolved, and they send us the information back and it's done. It's never anything that we send a message and we have no response, and then we have to send another message for it. I mean, we never had that. With Stephanie, if we had any questions or anything, we could email her. She responds quickly, or she'll call us. Everything has been great with that. There is absolutely nothing negative about the customer service on your end.
That's awesome.
Completely agree. We love Stephanie.
Yes. Yes. Just any advice that you would give to other practices who are maybe facing some prior authorization challenges similar to you and considering looking for a partner or solution?
I would definitely have them definitely look into you guys. I think it's definitely a positive change, especially if they're struggling, if they're having turnover and they're unable to keep their workload up and having to work extensive hours. I would definitely say try doing that. And then, I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I think it would be definitely something for them to look into and move forward with it. I definitely don't think it would be anything that anybody would regret.
Right, exactly. I think they're a great partner. I think
Yeah.
it's a good move, a very good move that we've made, and really made a difference for our company.
I love that. And I'm really excited for you guys to be able to put that integration in. I think that will really take things to the next level. I'm kind of curious, is there like any particular fears or concerns you had going into the process, and kind of how those ended up panning out for you?
On the pre-authorization side, I can tell you the entire team, like, they were all concerned because they all knew like what CPT codes, or what ICD codes would get approved from going to the websites and portals. So I guess in their mind was thinking, well, do we know if Infinix knows that? Because we didn't have all of that extensive background on there. So we were just kind of worried if we were going to start getting more denials, have to lead to peer-to-peers, when that would have been something that we could have done on our end and had it approved on there. But then once they realized, after we were a month in, we saw that we were definitely getting all of these approvals and barely any denials on there. I think it kind of lifted everybody's weight off and realized that, hey, this is a good thing and we should continue to move forward with it.
That's fantastic. Okay, so we're almost at the end of our time here. We have one more question. Let's see if we can squeeze it in from our audience. We had Sandy wanting to know what the process mapping was like as far as us learning about your workflows and being able to plug into them in the initial onboarding steps.
Okay, so for the initial part of it, we actually all we did was explain to them how we're working off of a live schedule, verifying the insurance, going to the portals, uploading the clinicals. I mean, that was our day-to-day process of everything that we did. And then they took it and came back with, this is what we're going to do on there. They showed us the manual upload page. because that's what we had to use from the beginning. And then once we did the bulk upload transition, so they really kind of, all they received from us was just our day-to-day process of how we did it on our end, and took it off in there and then formed what they needed to do to make it work for us.
Awesome. And two more questions. Got a lot of questions today, which is great. And they were, how often do you meet with your customer success manager, and how many payers do we submit auths to?
So how often we meet? So in the beginning, we were meeting once a week.
Yep.
And we would have people from Infinx team and people, I had asked some of my girls to join in because some of them had questions. They had a few little baby minor issues on that end. So we would meet once a week. And then we started to where we would get on a call and we're like, do you have any issues? And we're like, no, do you? And they were like, no. And we're like, okay, bye. So then we started, I messaged Stephanie and I was like, hey, do you think we can maybe start changing these to once a month? Or if we see that we do have issues, then we can address those right then and there.
Right.
But it was just, a call of just saying, hey, how you doing? So now we do that where we do once a month. And if we need anything, we can reach out to Stephanie and, we'll make changes on that. But at the beginning, for probably 6 months, it was once a week that we were meeting. We would set up a time for that, and then that recently changed.
Yeah, and Stephanie meets with Beth and I and goes over all the analytics and our progress. She always has like a little PowerPoint and, talks to us about things we could do going forward as well.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And so I think you've been able to see a reflection of that, maybe with the decreased denials as well. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. And would it be accurate to say that we're able to submit to all the payers that you work with day to day without any challenges?
That is correct. That is correct.
Great. Okay. Well, that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for being on here. I think there's nothing like hearing from someone that's actually solved the problem that you're looking to solve. So thank you so much for being on here and telling us your story and experience. And we're very excited for your success and for that to continue and amplify as we move forward together.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.